60 million plus women 15 years and above at risk of developing cervical cancer. I've had people on social media and everywhere ask, like, what's the cause of cancer? They'll say unknown.
Taking alcohol for a prolonged period of time can also predispose the woman to having cancer. If someone is having a sedentary lifestyle, it can cause cancer. If you know anyone in your family or related to you that had cancer, look out for yourself. As a woman, you look out for yourself. Look out for breast cancer. Look out for any of the gynecological cancer. If you're also an albino, you should also look out for skin cancer. Cancer can never be cured in that place. To handle cancer, you have to come English, have to come modern, so that you can handle
I love that
cancer.
one. Cancer is English.
So you have to come modern. Do you get to handle cancer? I don't believe that traditional medicine can cure cancer.
Is HPV vaccine safe? In Nigeria, we have a population of about 60 million plus women, 15 years and older, who are at risk of developing cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is just one of the many gynecological cancers that we have, but it has become a great burden to the Nigerian society. So today on the Intimate Matters podcast, we're here to discuss and talk about gynecological cancers. We will emphasize on cervical cancer because of the burden that we have, but we just want to throw more light on cancers that are pertinent to women. And I have with me in the studio today a very amazing personality, someone who believes that it's essential for you to have the knowledge about cancer and who champions the cause of cancer. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Maurice Johnson.
Thank you very much, my brother Akwawa.
I see the Cancer Bridge Foundation. I see even the cap you wearing, Breast Cancer Awareness Month 2025. I would say this, but they may misinterpret it. It feels like your body is just all about advocating for cancer.
I would have said my body is full of cancer, but I'm not cancerous.
So thank you so much for the amazing thing that you do. I see the advocacy. I see the community engagement, everything as it pertains to cancer. And we know that cancer is no respecter of age or persons, no respecter of socioeconomic strata. The rich suffers it, the poor suffers it. They say there's no middle class again in this country. So, but whosoever is in the middle also suffer. But today we want to talk about gynecological cancers. So, gynecological, big grammar. My people out there don't really like big grammar. So, how would you explain that to my people out there?
Okay, gynecology is a foreign word, so to say. Gynecology is a foreign word. Gyne is means reproductive system, for instance. Yes. So any component of the reproductive system is covered by the word gyne. So the study of those reproductive system is what is called gynecology. So any of those reproductive system, it has a component. For women, we are focusing on women now.
Yeah.
So it's not as if this gynecological cancer doesn't have an indirect effect on men, but now we are talking about women. So if we want to mention the component of the reproductive system in women, you talk about the vulva, the vagina, the cervix, the uterus, even up down to fallopian tube and then the ovaries. So those are the components of the reproductive system. So any cancer, anyone that affects any of those components of the reproductive system is called a gynecological cancer. But it doesn't mean that all of these can be affected. For a lifetime, a woman can have a problem of gynecological cancer affecting only one of these organs of the system. So it doesn't mean that as a woman, all of the system can be affected. Most of them can live throughout their lifetime. None of these components of the reproductive system is affected. Most of them, one might be affected. Most of them, two might be affected.
Okay. So let me just ask, but is it possible that all can be affected?
It's not a common scenario. Yeah, it's not a common scenario that you see that they say all of the components of the reproductive system is affected, but it's possible.
Okay.
It's possible.
Okay, so because one thing, because what I wanted to ask about that was the fact that we know that one of the major characteristics of a cancer is ability to spread actually from one part of the body. So that was why I asked if it's possible that I had cervical cancer, and because of the fact that it's cervical cancer, it decides to spread to get to other organs like you've talked that are within its range?
Okay, the thing is, every component of this reproductive system has a specific cause
Okay.
of cancer on its own.
Okay.
So, if this is a reproductive system, this is a part, this is a part, this is a part, this is a part. What causes a cancer in this part might not be what causes cancer in this other part. For spreading, do you get cancer cells, cancer tissues can also spread from this other part. And that's when you have secondaries. Do you
Okay.
get it? Yeah, you have secondary cancer. But as a primary cancer, it affects a particular specific organ. So the secondaries can spread to affect other parts, most likely beyond the other component of the reproductive system to other systems.
Okay. So thank you so much. So you've mentioned the fact that it affects so many different organs, right? So let's talk about some of them, some of these. And you've talked about the fact that what could possibly be a cause for this one may not be. So let's talk about some of these cancers and what could be like their possible causes.
Okay. To say a particular cause of cancer is interrelated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interrelated. What cause cervical cancer is possibly can cause another form of cancer in other part of the body. What cause vulvar cancer can possibly cause cancer in other part of the body. But I would say that to be very specific in terms of gynecological cancer and in terms of women lifestyle and reproductive cycle, I would say that for women at advanced age, it's a very common cause of cancer. Advanced age is related to ovarian cancer, related to uterine cancer, is related to that's endometrial cancer, related to other forms of cancer. Do you get? Then smoking, taking a lot of smoking, like alcohol, sorry, cigarette smoking, can be a common cause of cancer. All form of cancer in the reproductive system. Then taking alcohol can be a common cause. Like when I say common, it's related to almost all the components. Yeah, we are taking in general terms now. So taking alcohol for a prolonged period of time can also predispose the woman to having cancer in any part of the reproductive system. Then I'll also talk about there's genetic mutation that can also cause cancer. Then there's the external factor like infection. For instance, if we talk about cervical cancer, the primary cause of cervical cancer is HPV virus.
Yeah,
Sorry,
human papilloma
yeah, I
virus.
know a lot, so I can mix it up too. So HPV virus can also cause specifically cervical cancer. So that's the four I can say. Then lifestyle, if someone is having a sedentary lifestyle, that it can cause cancer because sedentary lifestyle leads to obesity. Obesity leads to other background medical condition that can promote the body's possibility of developing cancer. Yes, that's what I can say for now. Maybe with time we will add more to
Okay,
it.
so because thank you for pointing that because I think what I was actually wanting you to do was to point out the possible cancers that can affect the gynecological system. Is it that?
Okay.
Is it so the possible cancers that can affect them?
Okay, so as I mentioned, the parts of the reproductive system, okay, if we are starting from the inside out, like from the ovaries, there's ovarian cancer. You know, ovaries are two, they are paired organs, both right and left.
Left. Okay.
Yeah, so most of the times you have unilateral ovarian cancer, you can have bilateral ovarian cancer. Then you can also have endometrial cancer. So you see the lining of the uterus develop cancer.
Okay.
Yes, becomes cancerous. Then it can also have cervical cancer that we talked. That is the part that continues from the uterus down. Then it can also have vulvar cancer. Yes, so it can also have vaginal cancer. So each of those components of the reproductive system can possibly have a specific name and develop its own cancer.
All right. So the stat I read at the beginning of the conversation: 60 million plus women, 15 years and above, at risk of developing cervical cancer. I know that of recent, I think this could be one of the things that informed the decision of recent. The Nigerian government has ensured that the HPV vaccine, at least at least a form of it, because I think we have different HPV vaccine, has now become part of the national immunization schedule as a way to curb this menace that is actually fast rising. And you mentioned HPV. I know that HPV has been greatly linked with cervical cancer as it is. So I just want to know that linkage, because most times when they talk about cancer to most people, they ask people, what's the cause of, they'll be like, what's the cause of cancer? Most times they'll be like, unknown. I think that's most of the general thing that people, because I've had people on social media and everywhere ask, like, what's the cause of cancer? They'll say unknown. But you come to cervical cancer, right? They mention HPV. So what's the linkage between HPV and cervical cancer?
Okay, so HPV is a virus. There are different kinds of There are different kinds of that virus. There are different types. I would say they are typed. So they can like 16, 18, 11. There are plenty, and there are some that are still being have not been able to be. The genomes have not really been proven yet. So I know in the nearest future, you and I can come up with the genomic part of other types of HPV virus. So the thing, there's a link. The thing is, HPV virus cause infection of specifically the cervix.
Okay.
So the infection now cause a genetic transformation into in cell reproductive cell division system. So it causes an abnormal control of that cell division. It's only HPV that has the HPV and the genomic components that has the ability to dysregulate that cell
Division
division
process.
system. Yes.
Okay.
So if when it dysregulate that cell division system, so it possibly takes the cervical cells, the cells that lines the cervix, the walls of the cervix, it takes it out of control. It cannot control the cell division. So it could possibly can cause the cervical cancer. So
Okay.
HPV is the only virus that can, with the genomic component, that can cause that dysregulation in the cell division system in the cells of the lining the cervix. So I think that's a very good property that HPV has to cause cervical cancer.
All right. Thank you so much. So with HPV being like the major culprit in this stuff, are we innocent? When I say are we innocent, can the person claim to be innocent in terms of I'm looking at lifestyle factors or genetic factors? Do they also play in? Is there any way? Do they relate, you know, to how the HPV function or how the HPV work? So, do lifestyle factor and gene or genetic factors play into the development of cervical cancer,
Okay,
or
yeah.
is it just HPV?
Yeah, lifestyle. I would say it plays a very good role because one, and there's a lifestyle you have that it can, and so that it predisposes you to being infected by HPV. Do you get? There's a lifestyle you have, and you are not predisposed to being infected by with HPV. So for me, I would say being promiscuous, yeah, both boys and girls, both man and woman, being promiscuous can predispose you to having HPV infection, then cervical cancer possibly. And it's not only cervical cancer, because if as a man you have anything to do with a woman who is infected with HPV, to get, you are likely to also be infected with HPV. So for men, you see men also come up with penile cancers. Do you get
Okay.
penile cancers? And this penile cancer is caused by HPV infection. Probably that man actually got it from a woman. Do you get? Yeah. So you can see men come up with you can see women come up with oral cancers. A man who is also infected by HPV. Yes, maybe during oral sex.
Sex, throat
Yeah, you
cancer.
can. Yeah, during those activity can predispose a woman to also have. The thing is, because of that property of HPV virus and its unique genomic component, we can use to transform dysregulate cell division. So it can cause cancer in any part of the body where it is exposed to.
Okay.
Do you get it? Has that property to. So penile cancer is possible with HPV. Oral cancer is also possible with HPV. Then cervical cancer is also possible with HPV. So those ones comes under the umbrella of being promiscuous. So that's
All
what I
right.
can say.
So, you should know that yes, HPV may be the major culprit, but what you do, the lifestyle you live plays in also as it pertains to the possibility of contracting the virus and then moving forward to becoming a cancer. So if you're just joining us on the Intimate Matters podcast, today we're talking about gynecological cancers with emphasis on cervical cancer. With the burden of cervical cancer in Nigeria, in Africa, and the world all over, 60 million plus women 15 years and above at risk of developing cervical cancer. This woman may just be your girl child, may be your friend, may be your neighbor, may be your relative, could be your spouse. Hence the reason why we're having this conversation. So do well, I'm sure. If you're not yet like the video, do well to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also share this video so that others can learn. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And if you check our YouTube description, you see a link to our WhatsApp channel. Do well to follow us. We'd love to hear from you. You have questions, do drop it so much in the comment section. And we're still discussing gynecological cancers with Dr. Maurice Johnson. So just moving away from what actually happened. So what are the things that people should look out for in terms of signs and symptoms when it comes to this cervical cancer? Because one of the things I've noticed is the fact that maybe in cervical cancer, but maybe in cancer in general, the women affected tend to discover it late. So why do they discover it late, and what are the kind of things, or what should they look out for that could help them to easily spot? We know that it's almost a general rule of thumb in medical practice that the earlier a disease is, actually discovered, the more better the prognosis. So what should these women look out for?
Okay, for women that are really conscious, because it's not everyone that is conscious about this cancer. It's not everyone that know that cervical cancer or cancer, reproductive system cancer for women is actually real to get. So for women, most of them, a very small percentage that are that conscious of their health. And they live in an environment where they know a good percentage of women there are not conscious of cervical cancer and
Cancer,
possibly
okay.
gynecological cancer. So I will advise the ones that are health conscious to also share some health tips. These health tips that I would love to share with them, with those people that they know that are not really health conscious about gynecological cancer. So for gynecological cancer, as I mentioned the other time, those risk factors, that's what you asked me, right?
Yeah, I'm,
So
not, I'm asking, yeah, the risk factors, but now I'm looking at what people should look out for in terms of signs or symptoms, as to
okay.
know that it could be this something is happening.
Okay, for me, I'm afraid of talking about signs and symptoms because we should even be at the preventive stage.
Okay.
Yeah, we should even be looking at let's not have it. You get it? Because if we talk about the signs and symptoms, that means we accepted that gynecological cancer should be there. Let's just be preparing for signs and symptoms.
Symptoms.
But that also the most important thing now is the preventive. What they should even do. We will still
Okay.
talk about the signs and
Okay.
symptoms, but what they should even do to even prevent cervical cancer from even coming,
Okay.
yeah, and other gynecological cancer. For me, I know there's this concept of connected health. If you are from a family that has history of cancer, probably breast cancer. I'm not saying breast cancer is a gynecological cancer, but it's always grouped into female health program because most of the people that have cancer, history of cancer in a family are likely to develop any kind of cancer. Do you get? So I would say that if a woman is from a particular family, auntie, uncle, sister, anyone that is a woman that is from that family, even a man, if he had a male relative who had cancer, you also look out for yourself as a woman because anyone can pick cancer. Do you get? Because of the environment we live in. So there's this concept of connected health. If you know anyone in your family or related to you that had cancer, look out for yourself. Do you get?
Okay.
As a woman, you look out for yourself. Look out for breast cancer. Look out for any of the gynecological cancer. If you're also an albino, you should also look out for skin cancers because it's also a possibility. So if you know anyone who has cancer in your family related to you, look out for yourself for cancer. So just prepare and be sure that you are in that preventive mode. You don't want cancer to be part of your life story. So apart from that, then you also another thing I'll also say is when you're what do you do when you're looking out for yourself? What do you do? What are those things you need to do to look out for yourself for cancer? Is
Okay.
for instance, if you are having someone you're suspecting that you're trying to prevent yourself from having breast cancer, you should be attending clinics to get, you should have someone, a go-to doctor. But I'm not saying that you should be disturbing doctor, you should be sending DM, sending pictures to, you can just see a small spot on your breast, you snap and send to a doctor and say, no, we don't accept that. So you go to a clinic, register to, it can register to a general outpatient clinic. Do you get, see a doctor there, let it be documented officially that, okay, this is what you've noticed. Do you
Okay.
get, so that we give you a period of time where we can monitor and say, okay, let's monitor the changes, if it is this, or if it is this, or if there's an investigation we need to do, let's do it. Do you get? And also, women don't also consider this thing as very important, the breast self examination. Women don't do it.
I think the same thing also happened with the one for cervical cancer, pap smear.
Yeah, pap smear. Yeah, even pap smear. Women even feel uncomfortable to even go through that process, because when I was
Is
in,
it? But sorry, but wait, is it really accessible?
yeah, pap smear is accessible. I would say it's accessible because when I was in Edo State, so we did cervical cancer program. It was a cervical cancer program in Ambrose Ali University in their medical center. That's where we did it. So we were able to communicate with the director of health, then with the hospital I was working with. Then we did the program. We reached out to those students. We partnered with Department of Pathology in the hospital I was working with. So we did that program there. So it's possible, if it's possible and it's accessible, when you're working, you're meeting the right people. When someone is intentional to make it happen, do you get? And also get the necessary support. It's accessible.
So,
Because what we did was we did partner with Department of Pathology. There was organization that sponsored the pap smear. Do you get? It's not like, it's free, so to say, but
because
you have,
somebody
yeah,
sponsored it.
because we call that free because someone sponsored it.
Okay.
So we did that. We did that for Ambrosoli Medical University students. Most of them came. We did pap smear. So what I noticed was that when we finished the pap smear, when the girls were coming out, I'll come out. When I'll come out, we interview them. We interview them. What's your experience? Because the experience in the process of doing pap smear, their experience can affect it, but they can affect the availability of another woman to come for pap smear.
Yeah.
If they have a bad experience, they also share the bad experience. If they
They
have
are
a
more
good,
likely to share a bad
yes,
experience.
so it will discourage the next person from coming to do pap smear. So I interviewed them. So some of them were saying there are a lot of doctors in the room, that there are too plenty. I said, okay, so what next? They said this. They mentioned a lot of things. So I was noting them down. So at the end of the day, the first few numbers of people that did, after that, we had a good experience. You get, we have to adjust. You get, we have to adjust. They said they were too plenty in the room. We have to remove some of the doctors. Sure, you get. So we adjusted such that the experience of the people that actually entered afterward was good. So those ones will be able to convince another set of girls to come. So we told them, when you get to the hostel, tell your girls that there's a free pap smear here, and we will love them to come. To get, so experience can also make it, to make women to also always come for the pap smear. Is assess that one was free because someone sponsored it. Do you get?
Okay.
So moving away now, Nigeria is actually developing. I would say, because I've been in the oncology space, I've attended oncology programs, I've interacted with cancer advocates, cancer oncology leaders globally. I have been with them, so I've known the level of development, and I appreciate the people that are willing to put in their mental resources, personal resources, to promoting this cancer agenda in Nigeria. So I've been able to see that they are even moving away from pap smear. They are even moving away from pap smear. Most of the people are agitating, sorry, not agitating, advocating for HPV DNA test. That one is even more accurate. But let's finish with pap smear first,
Yeah, because
because
there's another
that
one I
is the way
wanted to.
forward.
Because, like you said, you talked about somebody sponsoring. I don't know how much it is. I've not made my findings, but I know that one of the things that women point out, two things basically, is first cost. I don't know how what's the cost, but people will always as far as money is paid, people will always complain of
Yes.
cost. Then the other thing you talked about, what the outreach you did, in partnership with the histology department, the presence of professionals also, because it needs professionals to assess the whole smear and give results. because that was the issue. I know when I was a couple of years ago when I was working for an NGO as part of an HIV programming NGO, as part of what they were doing, they brought in cervical because when they saw the increased incidence of cervical cancer in women living with HIV, so they had to bring in cervical cancer screening, and the issue was pap smear. Pap smear was actually like the go-to thing people used to do for screening, in terms of to see if there's development of cervical cancer or precancerous lesions, as the case may be. But then they brought out this thing. They call it visual inspection. Visual inspection with
Acetic acid.
yeah, acetic acid, diluted acetic acid, and visual inspection with acid iodine. But I think it's acetic acid and the other one. So because the message they passed then, which is why I asked the question, was that it's not as technical as pap smear, actually, in terms of you don't need histologist. All you have to do is to stain. They give you a reference. When you stain, it looks like this. You know it is this. If you stain, it looks like
Yeah.
it looks like this, and you know. Although that most times there will be need to, for people that it looks somehow, there's a need to escalate it and do further examinations about it. So, like you've said, thank you for what you do with your foundation. In fact, it will be one of the things I'm going to plead to you. Whatever services that it is to be provided in terms of screening, please let's try and make it easily accessible. By accessible, availability, I mean, and also accessible in terms of money wise, people being able to get this stuff, because I know that many people, that's not an excuse by the way, but many people point to that as a reason why they do not go get themselves checked out. Right. So you're having this problem, maybe you're having this bleeding inconsistent. I didn't know now. Why don't you go? I cannot go and check. When they collect me money, I don't have that kind of money. I know it doesn't make sense to. I know the way you're looking at me, you'll be like, you're bleeding and you're saying money. What is money? If you die and leave the money. But that is just the excuse people are moving. So thank you so much for what you guys did there. I'm sure that the female students in Ambrose Ali University are better off, because I've seen how such investigations have changed people's life. For example, that one, if the cancer is caught at the precancerous lesion stage, they'll do ablation or cryotherapy, whichever one they want to do, and they move forward with it. So, as
Yeah.
still part of what is being done, let's talk vaccine. First thing, we know HPV has vaccine. You know, Nigerians, we
Yeah,
have a
before
thing.
we talk about the
Okay.
vaccine, and the thing is, when we are talking about screening, that pap smear, there's this concept of screen and treat.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you screen someone and you're suspecting any changes that looks like cervical cancer, you put that person on the treatment line to get. So now there was a program when I attended the International Cancer Week in Abuja. There's one of the cancer stakeholders that said if you screen and you identify, you don't treat, that is a crime. That so I was like, okay, it's a crime. So because if you just like you came into this studio, you saw that there's someone inside this studio trying to pick a laptop, and that you know that this person doesn't work here, and you're the only person here, and you know that this laptop, if this person picks it, that this place might shut down, and you walk away, you don't raise alarm, you have opportunity to lock the gate, let the person be inside so that maybe they can come and get him, get the laptop, probably punish the person, and you walk away, and you made this statement like, it doesn't concern me, my hand no dey there, or I don't see. Now only me see, nobody follow see. So if you have opportunity to screen and you see any changes in that look like cervical cancer, you put the person on the line of treatment. Yeah.
Okay.
If it was like a community-based cancer outreach, so you might not have that. Most of the time, you don't have access to treatment. Some of the community-based cancer outreach now, they go with a team that can treat. You can just do an ablation to get so, or you can link that person up to a department, a nearest hospital that can do that. But see that follow up, that chain between the place you saw the person when you screen the community and the hospital. that gap is where
A whole lot of things can
that gap
happen in
is the
between
gap
that
that
gap.
you lose that person.
Yeah,
And that is the gap. You lose the person to treatment, you lose the person to death, you lose the person to cancer. A lot of things can happen. And a lot delays in that gap. The person might say doesn't have money. That's a delay. Okay, there's money, there's no means of transport. That's a delay. Or the person might say that, oh, I have a
I'm going to the
child.
hospital, but I'm going somewhere. Then
Yes,
from there, you
person
never
might say
make it to the
it's
hospital.
not free. Wants to go to meeting, wants to go to the farm. A lot of things can cause delay. That delay is not even good, because before a professional says that there's a change, and it's not a good change on that the cells lining the cervix, and wants to help, the person that needs that help should be available. Do you get? You should prioritize that one, because what I notice is that is lack of knowledge. They don't even know. Do you get? They don't even know that if a professional say that some things are not right, actually things are not right. Most of them, this money issue you're mentioning, most of them might even think that
They
he
want
wants
to
to
eat their
take me to the
money.
hospital and get this money, to get that money. Do you get? So I feel that if we are able to let these people know what this cancer is actually is, people will take it very serious. Do you get? So you're a nurse, and if you join a community, I saw what you did, kidney health programs. Have
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do a whole lot. I used to work in the community health team to screen for cervical cancer. And what you're saying is quite very true. Having to lose them to whatever reason. And I think, like I mentioned, that was why when they brought the visual inspection, it came with thermal ablation. So, because that person stands up from there and walks out of that place. In fact, let's not even say the hospital, walks out of that room, you can lose the person. Right.
Yes. Yes.
So it's quite very important. Whosoever said that is saying the truth, because you owe the person. In fact, that's the person's life you're putting on the line if you allow the person work. And that's why thank you for what you do, the advocacy for the need to improve the screening and improve access to treatment. Because you did perhaps, man, what did they say? They said there's something wrong. What happened? Nothing.
They
I
will not
just
even be
went.
able to explain. They will not even know
I
what
was
to
like,
say.
I was like, I wait till okay. So thank you so much. I think that's even why we talk about the vaccine. The government have found it needful to bring it in. So let's talk about the vaccine. How safe it is, and is it a one size fits all, or there are different options? Is HPV vaccine safe?
So I have not heard of any aftermath.
Not yeah,
Do
yeah.
you get?
Because I want you to emphasize on that because that's Nigeria has a very I don't want to call it. I don't know if it's a bias or if it's a stereotype. Every vaccine they're afraid. I don't know who pushed to them. Then don't take vaccine. No, they're sending it from outside. They want to do this to you people. They want to do this to you people. So I always like asking that question anytime we come around vaccines, right? Because I've had a working. Officially, I spent about a year plus working in the community. Then, by virtue of outreaches that I do a lot with the community. And I don't know where they get their information from. The kind of things you hear about medical processes. So you go and I want to give you a vaccine. Like, this vaccine, it won't allow me to have a child. They don't want me to have children again. They want me to become impotent or infertile, whichever one works for them. And they're like, this vaccine, it does this, it does that. It becomes. So thank you so much for pointing that out. That is actually safe so that I
Yeah,
can.
vaccine. I did not make it. I did not make that statement.
Okay.
Vaccine.
Okay. Thank you
HPV
for pointing out
vaccine.
that of the years you've used it, there's
Yes,
not
HPV
been.
vaccine, to be very, very to emphasize,
Okay.
HPV vaccine is very safe.
Okay.
It's very safe. Me, I
Okay.
would say it's very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Morris has said it
I
that
would say it's very safe.
it's very
So
safe. So the people
if you
out
know
there,
anyone, sorry, if you know anyone who is afraid of taking HPV vaccine, please encourage that person to go. For now, even they are trying to in integration process of the HPV vaccine, they're even advocating for inclusion of men in the HPV vaccination program, because it reduces the chances of transmission. Remember, we talked
yeah.
about penile cancer and all that. So it reduces the chances of transmission of HPV to get to a group of people to get. So we are even advocating for men being vaccinated too. So if I see HPV vaccine, for me as a man, I will also take it to get. Not as if I've not seen. I've seen, but let's give it to the women
Women
first.
first, because
Yeah,
I have that
because
issue when I talk about it. I mean, like, why are we? If you say that this thing also causes penile cancer, like you said, for example, why are they not giving us? Because
Yes.
men say a whole lot of that, and most men don't want to die. Men want to stay and job life.
So the thing is, I mentioned that it causes penile cancer, but because of that knowledge I have, and I also share that knowledge now, I am not promiscuous. Do you get? So I know being promiscuous can predispose you to
There are
having,
multiple sexual
yes,
partners.
because that means you're already having multiple sexual partners. So I don't want to find myself in that shoe. Do you get? So being promiscuous is not good. Cervical, HPV vaccine is safe.
All
It's
right.
safe. It's safe.
Okay. So is it a one size fits all, or it has
Okay, whether it has a side effect.
no side effects, or because I heard that there are different types of HPV vaccine.
Okay. Okay, we will talk about that. We
Okay.
will talk about
Okay,
that.
because it's some because like you said, there are different subspecies of the human papilloma virus. The one that is mostly focused on cervical cancer. I know there's a one. I know it's still HPV that is implicated in genital warts.
That's true.
Yeah. Then so we look at them. So let's talk about men before we get into like the various looking if there are different aspects of it. You talked about men wanting to get vaccine, but I used to say this, that we looking when you get into the community space, men are gatekeepers, men are major stakeholders, especially in the family context. So most times you ask a woman, and maybe you're bringing a service that is very integral and good for a woman, and you're like, no, my husband does not. Depending on the kind of family, my husband, my father. So how do we bring in men into this awareness and prevention strategy? What role can men play in the prevention of cervical cancer?
Okay. Um, One thing is for the man to have a knowledge about cervical cancer.
Okay.
Then another thing is for the man to also have a knowledge about HPV. Another thing is for the man to also have a knowledge about HPV vaccination.
Okay.
If a man is equipped with this knowledge, and the man can also understand the 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 outcome if doesn't have this knowledge, or if the outcome of having cervical cancer, I think that's enough to cause fear. That's enough to stimulate the man to be supportive to get for women to also prevent other women from having cervical cancer. So I
Okay.
feel as a group of men, thank God we are men now, we are talking about cervical cancer. So are we not supporting
Yeah.
women? We are
Okay.
supporting women. So if men have enough of this knowledge about cervical cancer, enough of this knowledge about HPV, enough of this knowledge about the complication of cervical cancer, do you get, to the woman suffering it, to the man who, if that woman has been married, or to the children, or to the immediate family, and even to the society, to the church group, market, a lot of all those clusters of life. So you be afraid to stay away from talking about cervical cancer, supporting a woman to prevent cervical cancer. So I feel as men, sorry, we need to start talking more about cervical cancer, the vaccine, and also the virus itself, the dangers of the virus itself. So when we have this and we talk about it more, we also support women more. I think that's a good way forward.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So, like our people who say, they say, "Basically, can nam kontape," for you asking, God forbid, does not stop it from happening because it can happen. So, what are the options in terms of treatment options available for somebody who may come down with cervical cancer, or does it mean that if you have it, it don't do for you, it don't be for you, or are there treatment options available to such people?
Okay, but before I will talk about the treatment option, I would love to talk about the vaccine
Okay.
because yeah,
Okay.
I always like prevention. I always like prevention. It's not as if I'm trying to lead you away from
Okay.
your
No, no,
line of thoughts. Yes,
prevention will always be better, more effective, cost in terms of cost and every other thing than cure.
yeah. So I don't want to lead you away from this your
Okay.
podcast. I
Okay.
don't want to
No, no,
lead you away
no.
from
Prevention.
your.
The podcast it's here to give the knowledge. Prevention is the best knowledge you can put out there.
We will still go back to
Okay.
that line of
Of treatment.
management.
Okay.
But for me now, HPV vaccination, I will talk about the goal. The goal is to prevent cervical cancer
Okay.
and other HPV related
Related
cancer.
diseases.
So I also mentioned that the target group for HPV vaccination is for women 9 to 14 years. So why they mention that is they want to make sure that a woman get HPV vaccine
Vaccine before being
before sexual
exposed.
exposure to get. Then there's another one that
9 to 14.
9 to
Hold
14.
on. With the reality we are seeing, is that possible? 9 to 14. We have, okay, it's well, it's
No, no, it's possible. It's possible. The thing is,
no, what I
I
mean is that we're having our girls that are below that age already being sexually exposed, either by virtue of curiosity or by virtue of abuse.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
that's it. Because most times I do mention it to people that a vaccine is better taken before you are exposed to. But that's the whole aim of a vaccine. Get it, your body forms memory before you actually have the actual
Okay,
disease.
I feel the that's a drawback on that gap to
Okay,
get between
9 and 14.
nine. Yeah, that's a drawback because I know in the environment that we live in, we have a lot of people being forcefully exposed to sexual activity. Then those ones are not really they are not safe because they have not had the vaccination here. But I also want to state that 9 to 14 is a benchmark.
Okay,
All things being equal.
equal.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
things do they ever feel they equal?
all things being equal. So it should be like this is the age that generally this is the age we should expect a woman to stay before being sexually exposed. You get, so that's why they fixed that. It's not a local policy as it's an international policy.
Okay.
So I also there's also this concept of also giving men the vaccine. I mentioned it to reduce the chances of the transmission of HPV to yeah. There's
HIV, don't
also
worry.
there's also a vaccination schedule.
Okay.
Yes, that came up by that was approved by WHO as at 2022. A single dose vaccination is good, but there are some local policies to get that made provision for 2 doses, but there should be a gap between 6 months to 12 months. So you
Okay.
get. There's also integration program. So now, because people don't always do this vaccination program, the national policy, international policy now is to introduce this vaccination into each country's national vaccination program. Thank God Nigeria has introduced it to
Yeah,
into
yeah, they
yes,
did.
yes. So even school programs, community-based programs, they're also introducing vaccination into to get HPV vaccination into those programs. And the effectiveness of this vaccination is that effectiveness of this vaccination is that it prevents the development of precancerous states. You get, it prevents women from having cervical cancer from before it even starts.
Okay.
There are barriers to cervical HPV vaccination. There are barriers, like we mentioned.
The
Like
people
if
when
you
know
go,
the year
yeah,
word, when
people
no
when they hear
believe.
what they don't even believe. They have been forced to believe that the vaccination is causing can cause infertility to get. Yeah, there are some local myths that people believe that vaccination cause infertility. Me, I will say boldly to the camera that HPV vaccination doesn't cause infertility. Do you
Okay.
get? It even increases your chances of being fertile
Okay.
because you don't expect a sperm to survive
A
yes, to
cancerous
pass through a cervix that
that
has
is
been cancerous.
cancerous.
Do you get? So if you don't have cervical cancer and your cervix is fine,
You're more
the
likely to be
yes, yes,
fertile.
insemination will be good. So that is it. So the WHO target is to make sure that about 90% of women, girls, are vaccinated
Okay.
worldwide. At least about at before the age of 15 to get all those people must have been vaccinated before
So,
by
our under
20
15s out there,
2030.
please go get yourself vaccinated. Walk to the nearby health center and get yourself vaccinated. It's quite essential. Okay, so let's talk about like the possible treatment options people
Okay.
living with cervical cancer have or who have been diagnosed with cervical cancer.
Okay. So the for possible treatment option, we mentioned that one that is locally obtainable, like the ablation that we
Okay.
talked about. Yeah. So the ablation is a very common to get a very common mode of treatment
Yeah, I
for
think
people.
especially for the precancerous
Yes,
lesions.
yes. So it's very and it's accessible and affordable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very, very.
you see some people do cancer awareness program. They have a team that can do ablation. Do you
Okay.
get? So I feel we should not even go beyond that
Yeah, because
because
when it goes beyond that, it's the
yes,
normal full blown
yes,
cancer
full blown
therapy.
cancer, and before you realize now you start seeing spread in secondaries, and they are talking about surgeries. Do you
Yeah,
get it? Yeah.
surgeries
So
and
I have friends who are surgical oncologists. So the outcome of every woman that's had surgery because of cervical cancer, the prognosis is not always good. Do you get the prognosis is not always good? So I don't want to see any woman even get to that stage of having oncological surgery. Do you get because of cervical cancer? Simple ablation can help.
okay.
We should not wait until it's that bad that we're talking about surgery. Another thing is we can also, apart from the ablation, we can also chemotherapy, but these things are expensive.
Okay. Okay. So
That's why prevention is even better. Chemotherapy is very expensive. So I know people that spend a lot of money to take care of chemotherapy. It might be that expensive. A course of chemotherapy can take like 300,000 naira from your wallet. Do you get? Can take 400,000 naira from your wallet. How many times do you need to do this chemotherapy? Where will you raise the money from? Do you get? If you don't have a supportive family, as a woman, if you don't have a supportive husband, or you don't have a business that is supporting
thing
you,
you
or you
okay.
don't have a supporting group, maybe church, market women, and even worse, that women don't talk about that they have cervical cancer with fellow women.
Is
So
there a stigma in it?
there is, there is. So there is, and when the stigma will really affect is when you need the money to take care of cervical cancer.
Okay.
Yes,
So
because you have not talked about it. You are afraid. You are
okay.
scared.
So that people will
You
not
are
be like
feeling
so
shameful.
that,
Yeah.
like in my people, they will not use it as your name, Mark Cancer.
Yes. If they can even call someone Mark cancer, that would be bad. Oh.
They do, they do. You know, there is a funny thing around, like you said, stigma, where they call people and attach to whatsoever is. In
Yes,
fact, I
yes.
want to say this to my shame. It's one of the issues sometimes we also have in the healthcare space. Where maybe it's not sometimes when the people that say this don't say it to stigmatize. You know, maybe you come into a ward and there are different clients of different disease condition, right? And sometimes we do have, which is very unprofessional, healthcare professional. Maybe we're trying to hand over duty or you're trying to discuss maybe a case file with a fellow colleague or whatever, and maybe you may not remember the client's name, which is a bad thing. You should. I said, my cancer bed fork. Please, if you're a
Yeah,
health
yeah.
professional watching this, you should not do that. In fact, it's as unprofessional as anything that can be unprofessional. In fact, you're causing that person harm. So you can be whole liable for it because you're actually causing the person itself harm. Because that's an emotional assault. That's a psychological assault. You reduce me from who I was or whatever I was in terms of my name, my achievement. You reduce me to the disease that is actually affecting me. So we shouldn't do that. Dr. Morris, I know that what your Uncle Bridge Foundation does. I remember when I was there, privileged to be there when you're putting together the youth wing of the Nigerian Cancer Society here in Akwa Ibom State. One of the things you said that stood out for me was the fact that I might not phrase it the way you phrase it, but what it meant to me was that people have made cancer a thing of individual who suffer it and a thing of medical professionals. But you tried to say that cancer affects everybody contributes in, right? Support system, church, everybody plays in a role. So let's look at it. How does society and culture come into cancer? Look, when I say come into cancer, I'm talking about from cultural practices or societal practices that may predispose you to practices that may increase the risk. Then also, how do they factor in terms of support and prevention?
Okay. So, okay, we're talking about cultural interference
Yeah,
that
cultural and
promotes
societal interference
the
in terms of
burden
causing
of
and increasing
cancer.
risk factor.
Okay. So, yeah, we are even safe in this part of the world. Like we are even feeling safe because we don't talk a lot about culture. Do you get? We don't. Our culture doesn't really interfere very well with our health seeking behavior, and our religion doesn't really interfere with our health seeking behavior. There are some part of this country that
Northern
northern part
part of
of
this
yeah.
country.
Thank you for being specific. So there's some part of the country that their religion actually and cultural predisposition actually interfere with their health seeking behavior, and they actually don't believe in modern medicine. They actually believe in traditional medicine. So that's culture.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were born into this part of the world where eboke, ete saisa akede ibok. You know that abebok to
Yeah. So
abebok,
we've always known
yeah,
herbs.
yes, we always known herbs, and they have a very ancient diary that their forefathers handed over to them and has documented the outcome of using each of those herbs, roots, ipa, to all those kind of things. I can use it and leaves and use and cure a particular disease. So I have seen I have seen a video, not from South. I've seen a video of someone being in a traditional a herbalist home. Do you get that person actually has cancer, but is in herbalist home? What is that person doing in herbalist home? The person is actually taking a lot of money from the patient relative, but we know that that cancer can never be cured in that place.
Okay.
So you get what I'm saying now. So that's cultural interference. You get, we still believe that we can handle it traditionally. Cancer is English. To handle cancer, you have to come English, have to come modern, so that you can
I
handle
love that one.
cancer.
Cancer is English.
So you have to come modern. Do you get to handle cancer? You don't. I don't believe that traditional medicine can cure cancer. Do you get? Because when we have, okay, how will you even identify that this person has cancer with traditional medicine? To even know that this person has cancer, you have to screen in a modern way, modern medicine. Okay, if this person, you identify that this person has cancer, now the chemotherapy is the only sure way to 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 debug cancer. Do you hear what I'm saying? Chemotherapy. Then ablation is English. That's a modern technology to use and treat cancer. There are some investigation. Do you get? There's some investigation that you need to do that a traditional bone setter, for instance, or herbalist cannot do, to
Okay.
know that this is a level of spread of this cancer. Because if you don't know a level of spread, if you don't stage this cancer, herbalist cannot stage cancer,
Okay.
cannot stage, cannot know how bad is this cancer.
Yeah, how much it has spread.
But he or she will keep you there and still take your money. Do you get? Not you, like take their
My
money.
money.
Yes, so you cannot stage cancer. So coming modern will help you to identify cancer, also help you to even know how bad is the cancer, or even help you to design um, treatment pattern for that cancer. Do you get? So it can also help you to choose what kind of chemotherapy are you doing for this person. If you are planning for surgery for people that had oncological that need oncological surgery, you also modern medicine will also help you to design the kind of surgery you want to do. What level of surgery do you want to take? How deep do you want to go? What do you want to harvest? Which organ are you looking at to salvaging from being affected by cancer? That's modern medicine. Traditional medicine cannot help you. Do you get? So that's why I see that our people still need to learn that all this traditional medicine cannot save us from cancer.
No, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. So
So
that is Dr. Maurice Johnson do talking so much as it pertains to, what we should actually know about how society and culture plays into. We were having a conversation on gynecological cancers with emphasis on cervical cancer because it's very, very important. The statistics is looking scary. 60 million plus women, 15 years and older, at risk of developing cervical cancer. It shouldn't actually be so. So thank you so much for what you do at Encore Bridge.
yeah, Uncle
Encore
Bridge Foundation.
Foundation. Yeah,
Yes.
because that will just be what we use to put this discussion to bed. So, because I wanted to ask, what what can policymakers, NGOs, government do? No, but I want to ask you, what do you people do at Encore Bridge, and how are you people helping to avoid this start? As somebody that comes from having a major female, I call it a all female sibling family, this start is scary to me because that could be any of my sisters, that could be any of my relative. So, what is Encore Bridge? What are you and the team at Encore Bridge building and doing to help with the cancer burden of Nigeria, especially gynecological cancers?
Okay. Thank you very much. Uncle Bridge as a name. Uncle is like from oncology,
Okay.
cancer, then bridge, trying to bridge care, bridge people to care.
In terms of
Cancer care.
oncology.
Yeah, we're trying
Okay.
to bridge people to cancer care. So the foundation shows that what we do is an humanitarian work that we are doing, the social work that we are
Okay.
doing here. We get funded for it, we get supported for it, we use our own personal resources to do it. Yeah. So the thing is, the most important thing about, very, very unique thing about us is we want to we are preventing people from having cancer just by sharing knowledge about cancer, letting people know that cancer actually exists. That awareness is very important. We don't even want people to have cancer because by the time you are diagnosed of cancer, it's not a
Yeah, yeah.
good,
It's not
yeah,
a
it
palatable
affects
stuff
you emotionally, psychologically,
financially.
church, work, social life, your functionality will be reduced. Do you get? So if you don't have a strong emotional social support system, you might be down, like for real. So we don't want people to actually have cancer. So we are at that prevention level where we prevent, do community health programs, school programs, community health program. Like I mentioned, what we did with at the Ambrose University. So we are even planning another one in Uyo, since I'm in Uyo now. So we are planning another one in Uyo where we will go to a primary school. We talk about cancer. We talk about cancer at the level that those people will understand. Secondary school at the level that those people will understand, because those children coming into those schools to represent different families, represent different villages. We might not be able to get to their family. We might not be able to get to their village, but we will get to their village through them. So that's why we were planning this one now in Uyo, so that we just share knowledge about, create awareness about cancer. Especially the women need to know more about cancer as well as the men. So that's what we do at that level. Then we also do some social work, and social work means we support patients, that someone we know that have been diagnosed of cancer. We can support them with a certain percentage, 5%, 10%, 15% of their cost of treatment. We were able to do 50% with the support of someone. We were able to do 50% for one person. Do you
Okay.
get? Yes, that has been undergoing cancer treatment. So that's what we do. We are also blessed to be involved in some research. We presented our paper, two of our papers, so to be very bold about that. Two of our papers are the just concluded International Cancer Week in Abuja. So we are part of the research team. We also do research because that is if we don't have that research outcome, we will not be able to do evidence-based cancer awareness program, because the outcome of our research will help us to redesign our community-based cancer awareness program. We are still planning something big next year in Akwa Ibom. So I don't want to do premature
Okay. Okay.
announcement.
So
Yeah, so
thank you so
that's what
much.
we do, and we have a lot of stakeholders. We were able to introduce our organization, Uncle Bridge, to the wife of the former KB State Governor, Dr. Mrs. Zainab Zingavi Bagudu is a how's her name? I can't really pronounce it. So, but I'm trying. So she's the president elect of Union of International Cancer, UICC.
Okay.
Yes, so we were able to introduce our organization to her. We were able to also meet the former World Medical Association president, Dr. Ozahon Enabulele, who also acknowledged and also want to support us in our future program. We've been in touch with, we've introduced our organization to the president of ACON, Association of Radiation and Clinical Oncologists, Professor Abubakar Mohammed Bello, so, who is a consultant oncologist in the National Hospital Abuja. So we also been able to introduce our organization to at the African Youth Health Summit that was held at the United Nations House. We were able to also introduce Oncobri Foundation to the group of young people who came, international delegate came from different countries in Africa to attend that summit. So most of them are also willing to work with us virtually. They're also looking at how they can individually design, sorry, do an extension of our organization in their countries, in their schools, in their institution. We were also, fortunately, I was fortunate to be selected as the one of, is it top 100 outstanding young Nigerian doctors because of the Oncobri Foundation. Last week at the United Nations House, we were there. So we had a national leader, is it mentorship and leadership summit under the National Committee of Young and Early Career Doctors, Nigerian Medical Association. So we were paid as an organization. We were paid to top oncologists because it's a mentorship program. We were paid with our organization were paid with top oncologists to mentor us on how we can design an impactful local cancer program. Do you get? especially to the
That's
rural
that's
communities.
that's an amazing thing you're doing. Thank you so much for greeting the Intimate Matters podcast, where you've also shared your knowledge and information as part of the core things that you do at Encore Bridge Foundation. Please do well to go check them out. I think on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, Instagram,
Okay, so do well to check them out
Twitter,
on LinkedIn, Instagram,
TikTok.
and on X and on TikTok, where you can see the things you're doing. Please do well to actually support them. And as you support them, support this podcast, like this video, share it to other people that need to have this information as it pertains to gynecological cancer and also especially cervical cancer. And do well to drop your comment if you have any. Follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and you see a link to our WhatsApp group and channel on the YouTube description. Please do well to join us. Thank you again, once
Thank you
again,
very
Dr. Maury
much. Thank
Johnson,
you
for
very
having
much.
us. It's a
Thank you.
privilege, for us to share with you information as it pertains to sexual and reproductive health. This is the Intimate Matters podcast. And on this podcast, we know that your intimacy matters. That's why we discuss issues that pertain to your sexual and reproductive health. My name is Nosa Kwao. I am your uncle on this podcast. And until we come your way next time, I say bye for now.